Okay, good morning everyone. So it's 6 a.m. in the morning and this is finally a day with some nice weather. I hope you can see. But I've been driving this new BMW X1 for the last week, but for the whole week the weather has been absolutely atrocious. The rain clouds was whipping over the country, so yeah, it wasn't really nice. Today is finally some good weather, and I have a friend which really rather likes this car and told me that if he was to buy a car, it would be the BMW X1 because it's not too big, it's an SUV, he's not really that much into cars, and he thinks it's a good performing car. So I told him, hey, I'm gonna have this car later, and when I have it, let's take it for a spin and let's see if you like it. So today is the day. Now I'm waiting for him, and we're gonna go for a drive, for a little trip in our country, and let's see what this car is like. So let's do it. Okay, so just some morning breakfast for the guys. We're packed up and we can set off. What I'm interested to see is what is the fuel consumption of this new X1 going to be with this 2-liter petrol engine with 204 horsepower plus those around 19 electric horsepower that it gets from electric motor. Let's see. So let's also have a look at the engine. Let's open it. So, and here is a 2-liter engine. This is now a mild hybrid, so it gets additional 19 horsepower from electric motor mounted in as a part of a transmission. The total power output is 218 horsepower, which is less than the previous generation, which had 231. The interesting thing here, which I like, is this front roll bar, which I didn't really expect. For sure it makes the car more rigid and better to drive. So that's a very interesting feature.
Tu pezes do babu si išiel akým autom? Ale to keď si... A to bolo požičané auto? Áno. Čo ti je, a to keď si pozrel, ten čo ti to požičal, však kurva ide to.
Musí tam byť jak normálne a tam okolo mňa preletí diabol, proste púkle.
Úplne, že by vykrál banku a učekal.
Banková ťaha za tým autom, ty vole, ale nenormálne.
That the engine is cold and that you cannot rev it towards this blue part of the rev range. Okay guys, so let's have a look at this brand new BMW X1. I have to say it's a really good looking car, and this car, it got bigger in terms of dimensions, so it's now almost as big as a mid-size SUV, the likes of Tiguan and the Hyundai Tucson, only it's a little bit thinner, it's not as wide as they are. So from my point of view, I really like the styling. I like that the car looks much sharper, much more sporty, yet it looks dynamic, but it still looks quite compact and quite elegant, I would say. Let's have a look from the back. We have the lights, which are very similar, like from the BMW XM. Now if we go into the boot is electrically controlled, also in the lowest spec of this car, so that's a premium feature. So the boot is 500 liters in capacity. You have you have this floor, which is dividing it into halves. So yeah, the boot is quite practical, and I would say it's big enough. Now the growth in dimensions really helped in the rear legroom, which is really good. I'm sitting like I do in every car, and I really have loads and loads of legroom here in the back, and also for the head, that's really spacious. Now in the back, what we have here in terms of comfort, we have Harman Kardon speakers, we have huge door bins, we have this armrest with 2 cup holders, we have 2 USB-C connectors, and also the air vents for climate control. Yeah, and we also have this huge panoramic roof. So this is the top spec of the car, and it for sure feels like that. Only thing I would say, this is a little bit different than from the other BMWs. Before it was like opening, it was like you could open it, and now it's always like this, opened. So yeah, let's go to the front of the car, and the interior of course changed a little bit. So what we have here, we have electrically controlled seats, sport seats, which have a really good support, but they don't have a memory function. Now the interior changed mostly, and for me a little bit annoyingly, in a way that we lost the iDrive controller, and it's now only a touch screen here. The good thing though is that this central console is designed in a really clever way. So you can adjust volume, you can change driving modes, change settings of the car, and you also start the car and put hazard lights all on this panel. So you don't have to look for it anywhere else, you all have it here, particularly on the touch, you know, it's very close to you. This is also openable. This it's a little tray for some things, I don't know, pens, coins or something, but you have a huge space underneath the console, underneath the floating console, as I would call it. Then you have these 2 USB-C sockets, you have some 2 cup holders, and you have this clever feature. So this is the pad for charging your phone, the wireless pad, and you just put it there, lock it with this plastic thing, lock it, and even when you drive fast, the phone stays in and charges. I think that's a really clever feature. Another thing I like about the interior is that you have 2 separate air vents for the passenger and 2 air vents for you as a driver. So that's a nice feature. You have, as usual, a really thick BMW M steering wheel, which I don't prefer, but some people might do. You have some very simple buttons on the steering wheel. So this one is for the autopilot, the cruise control, and this one is for the media, setting the screen and setting the head-up display in front of you. So yeah, quite simple. Of course, losing the iDrive knob, I don't think it's an ideal feature. I don't actually like it, because now it's like in all of the other cars, you just have to look at the display and not concentrating on driving. So this way, you know, it's a little bit more dangerous. The only thing that saves you is that you have this BMW driving assistant. So it's you have all of these systems checking for you the crash, the pre-crash system, or when you're reversing, when you're opening the door. Everything is done by the car. I actually had to turn off the lane assist because it's always really annoying for me to have this system on. So yeah, but otherwise the menu is very similar to the system before. It's quite easy to navigate, it's quite easy to set up whatever you need. So yeah, I mean, it's okay, it's definitely okay. Now we're coming to Žilina and we're gonna have a lunch there. Fuel consumption 7 liters. Okay, so what's my experience with the new BMW X1 in terms of driving? Well, for sure the car drives really stiff. The suspension is really quite stiff. The anti-roll bars are also quite rough and stiff. So the whole ride is what you might expect from a BMW. So it feels sporty, it feels stiff. But that might not be the best for your passengers in the car, as my passengers have told me. There are a few changes in between this new generation and the older one. This newer one has less powerful engine. This top specification engine has the input of 218 horsepower and 360 Newton meters, whereas the older X1 had 235 horsepower. And also the changes in terms of transmission. This new model has a 7-speed Steptronic automatic transmission. The older model had 8 speed, so 8 speeds are more than 7 speeds. That means less RPM on the motorway and better fuel consumption. Of course, what helps this car achieve better fuel consumption is its aerodynamics. The drag coefficient of 0.27 is really good, considering largeness of this vehicle. So that is, of course, a good thing. So far on the trip, I've been averaging 7 liters per 100 kilometers, and that consists of motorways at 140-150 kilometers per hour and B roads mostly. That I think is quite a good fuel consumption for an engine of this size. Maybe some negatives I would say for the gearbox is that sometimes it's quite slow. The torque it's actually dual clutch. Sometimes when you're driving off from the lights, it feels delayed. So then you push the accelerator a little bit deeper, which ends up in the car accelerating more dynamically than you would have wanted. So yeah, that might not be the best thing. And the gear shift pedals that you have here, you can opt for manual mode, but they don't work the fastest, as fast as you might want when changing gears with pedals. Otherwise, I have to say, this car, or maybe the engineers, mostly considered making this car better in terms of practicality and living for every day, because that's what SUV is all about. So really, the interior is much more practical. You have much more space for the rear passengers and in the boot. The negative thing about the interior is that I'm missing the iDrive controller of the last generation, and the new iDrive has a touch capacitive screens. You have this curved display, which of course is nice, but well, I'm missing it. It was a special feature of a BMW, and it felt premium, whereas this feels like in a Skoda or a VW. But overall, the interior is still very high quality. You have really nice materials, everything is very well put together. Only some small details like the door bins, considering it's a premium brand, they could be done in a more prestige manner. So that's about it for the driving. In terms of suspension, again, the steering is very sharp, very direct. You have X-Drive that gives you plenty of grip in bad conditions. This car is not made for off-road. The only off-road thing you have here is the hill descent control, and that's it. No off-road modes whatsoever. goes, fourth gear. Well, yeah, it's still a BMW. That's for sure. I mean, the performance is not the punchiest as you might expect from 280 horsepower, but then again this car weighs 1.8 tons in this with this outfit, with this spec, because it's filled up, it's filled with filled up with options, so it's quite heavy. So that's expected, but still the performance is really good enough for overtaking without problems, even with full car. So yeah, and the nice thing is that when you put the car into sports mode, it deactivates the stability control, and that's a nice touch, even though it's an SUV. So it's still a BMW.